At Clearwater High, the school year began as usual. Students and staff referred to Miss Lauren Mitchell 32 as of the English department's most enthusiastic and involved instructors for many of her students. Her classroom was like a second home. Classic novels and inspirational sayings adorned the walls, and warm desk lamps provided a reassuring warmth, particularly on the dark October days. She had a unique ability to pique the interest of even the least engaged students in Shakespeare or the Great Gatsby's symbolism. Lauren had established a reputation for going above and beyond for anyone in need, and she was well liked by her students, trusted by parents, and respected by her peers. However, beneath her cheerful exterior and lesson plans lay a lady who had always found it difficult to distinguish between her personal and professional commitments. Perhaps it was true, she reminded herself, since she cared, but no one, not even Lauren, saw what was coming. Quietly, the trouble started. She was particularly interested in two pupils that year. Jason Miller, age 18, was gregarious, humorous, and endearing. He had a certain comfort about him that could make even the most stern teachers grin, and he was liked by almost everyone, even the theater students and the football squad. Then there was 18-year-old Eli Thompson, who was completely different. Eli was a quiet, thoughtful, and intelligent person who tended to keep to himself and didn't talk much until asked, but his essays showed a profound emotional sensitivity that astounded Lauren. Initially, it was only additional assistance. Jason requested her to review his college application essays after school. Eli lingered one afternoon with a question about a poem he had written, and Lauren was affected by the sensitivity in his writing. She promised to read more if he ever felt like sharing, and he did. Lauren replied yes, as she usually does. In a matter of weeks, she was spending 2 or 3 days a week after school, sometimes with Jason and other times with Eli. The length of the chats increased, and the subjects veered off course and into increasingly intimate ground. Jason talked candidly about his family, including how his parents were constantly at odds and how school served as his haven. Eli acknowledged that he felt invisible most of the time and didn't really have any pals. Lauren paid attention. She provided consolation, support, and encouragement in her own manner. She thought she was contributing. After all, they were only pupils, and she was merely an educator attempting to change things. However, the relationship gradually changed when Jason began texting her outside of school hours. It was harmless at first. The communications then became more frequent and intimate, starting with a brief inquiry regarding an assignment or a joke about something that occurred in class. He inquired about her activities, shared his day with her, and once sent a late-night message that said, "You're the only adult who really gets me." Lauren was unsure of how to react. She felt glad that she had made a place for him to feel comfortable, but she also attempted to ignore the bad feeling in her gut. Eli also started speaking out more confidently. He penned poetry that looked to be addressed at her, full of admiration and emotional longing, and he sent her a handcrafted bookmark featuring a quote from her favorite book that he had recalled from a casual remark weeks previously. She made an effort to remain professional and reminded them of her duty, but she found it difficult to turn away when they gazed at her with such weak eyes looking for approval. These boys were now more than simply classmates. They were individuals she held in the highest regard. The employees started whispering. One teacher whispered, "Lawrence spends a lot of time with those boys," without providing any specifics. She has always been overly involved. During lunch one day, Melissa Grant, a friend and colleague educator, finally said something blunt. "I'm saying this because I care about you," she said. "But you've got to put some space between you and those two. People are observing that it doesn't seem well." Lauren acted defensively. "They are only children in need of assistance. It doesn't matter what your goals are, it's all about perception, and it doesn't look good right now. I'm not saying you're Melissa, and I'm not doing anything wrong." Lauren couldn't sleep that night, thinking back on every discussion, late text, and lingering look. She told herself that she had never crossed any lines, but she also knew that she hadn't drawn any. The tipping point occurred when Lauren offered to serve as a teacher's chaperone on the senior trip organizing committee. Eli and Jason both became members of the committee. There was tension from the beginning, and Jason made passive-aggressive remarks. When Eli spoke, Eli cut the stares and remained silent. Lauren found herself in the midst of their escalating antagonism. The two boys got into a furious dispute during one of the meetings about some insignificant bus food options, but the animosity went beyond trail mix or drink selections. Eli asked Lauren if he might escort her to her car after the meeting after everyone had left. After some hesitation, she consented. Under the orange glow of the street lights in the parking lot, Eli said, "I know I'm just a student, but I can't help how I feel about you." Lauren's pulse pounded as she saw how you looked at me. In an attempt to collect her breath, she took a step back. Eli looked devastated. "I thought you were unique. You're a smart young man, and I love you, but I'm your teacher." Jason confronted her in the corridor the following day. "Do you like him?" His eyes were flaming. "Jason, is that the reason you're pushing me away now? This is inappropriate. You didn't ever respond to my mails. You disregarded me even though I gave it my all." She shook as she left. She had allowed this to get out of hand. All of this fell apart on the senior trip. Jason and Eli vanished on the second night when the majority of the students were gathered around the bonfire. Panic began. Employees dispersed to search for them. They were discovered pushing and yelling at one another behind one of the cottages. The dispute intensified until they were separated by another educator. The truth came to light back at the lodge. Jason filled the chaperones in on all the texts and late-night chats about how he and Eli had fallen in love with the same teacher and thought she felt the same way. Eli was mostly silent. Eventually nodded in agreement with Jason's story. The following morning, the principal called Lauren. The school district started looking into it right away. The emotional attachment and unclear limits were incriminating enough, even though there was no proof of physical misbehavior. She was put on administrative leave while her case was reviewed. The tale went viral in the town and at the school even though the news wasn't made public. Parents were furious. Some called for her dismissal. Others stood up for her, arguing that she was just overly concerned. Although the students were split, the harm was done. Jason changed schools. Eli stopped writing altogether and withdrew from the majority of his classes. Lauren secretly quit before the investigation's conclusion. Late at night, she packed up her classroom by herself in the hopes that no one would witness her sobbing.